Hi everyone, Rochelle from Sprouting Paths Homestead here. I just wanted to talk to you a bit today about starting onions from seed. The past couple years I have tried starting onions from seed. I've never started them from sets, and they always don't really grow to their maximum potential once I get them into the garden. So this year I am bound and determined to be able to grow some onions that are the size they're supposed to be at the end of the season. So I'm going to take you through the steps from starting the seeds to transplanting the plants out into the garden, all the way through harvesting the onions, so we can see how successful this year can be. I know that the reason my onions don't grow to their full potential has to be just in my method. So if I fix my method and I get the right onions for our area, I am certain I will get a good onion harvest this year. So let's start at the beginning. So this year I am going to be doing the Wethersfield red onion and a Zabroon shallot. I've never tried growing shallots before, but I figured I'll give it a try this year. And if I'm growing an onion, a red onion, I figure a shallot can't be that much different. So the Wethersfield red onion is a long day type. So you have your short day types and your long day types. For here in the north, typically you would want a long day onion. So that's why I chose this one. Also, it's an old New England variety. Being that we're in the mid-Atlantic region here in upstate New York, that is close enough to my region. So I have a feeling I will be successful with this variety. Also, the Wethersfield red keeps well. And so if I do get the maximum potential out of growing these, I will be able to store them in our basement under appropriate conditions, and they'll keep well. So that's a huge plus. The Zabroon shallot is a long day type as well, and it also keeps well. So when I've started onion seeds in the past, I've typically just sprinkled the seeds over a tray of seed starting mix and just let them grow free willy and see where we end up. And usually they end up like a tangled mass, even though I'm trying to trim the growth down to 2 to 3 inches. And then when I go to transplant them in the garden, it's just a mess. It's a big old tangle of roots, and I don't think that was very, I don't think I was setting myself up for success by doing that method of sprinkling. So I recently saw a post put out by Homesteaders of America on Instagram on how to grow onion from seed. And I said, okay, let's take a look at that, because they probably got some really good tips. So I looked through it, and there's a lot of good information that I saw in that post. I'll link that post below in the description, just in case you do want to check it out yourself. That is the method I'm going to be following this year and see if it can bring me more success with growing onions. But the first step that they suggest to do is that you pre-sprout your onion seeds, and I have never done that before. I have always just taken those black seeds and sprinkled them. I never thought to pre-sprout them. And the reason they pre-sprout them is, first of all, to know they're only using the seeds that are going to germinate in the long run anyways. So you're not wasting precious space with your trays and your cells starting seed that isn't going to be germinating anyways. The second reason is so that when you go to put the seed into your cells, you can clearly see it, because it's going to have that little sprout. So it's easier to see them, because they recommended that you place each onion seed in a cell. So you don't sprinkle them, you don't put a couple here, couple there. You methodically, you take the time and you put them into a cell so they have enough room to get some good roots going, get a good growth and head start on their life before you stick them out in the garden. So it's a little bit more time investment. However, it's snowy and cold here. What else am I going to do? If I actually want to play in dirt, this gives me the opportunity to do so. And if I can do it out here in the greenhouse, it's peaceful, it's warm, why the heck not? Let's take some time and have a productive onion harvest. And we will start with pre-sprouting those seeds. So let me show you what we're going to do. Okay, so what I have here is a wet paper towel. So I've just laid this out nice and flat. Now, in order to pre-sprout your onion seeds, you're going to want to put them in a warm, moist environment for a few days until you start to see kind of that little like root kind of come on out, and then you'll know that they have sprouted. So I'm just going to go ahead, I'm going to open up my packet of onions and spread them out all over this wet paper towel. So there they are, all those little black onion seeds. So I'm gonna spread them all out. And it looks like I'll be able to just fold this side of the wet paper towel over on top. So there they are. I'm gonna fold this over so it's nice and wet. And I'll probably just sprinkle a little bit more water on top. And then once you have your onion seeds in the wet paper towel, you're going to put them into a gallon Ziploc bag. So I'm just gonna kind of fold over these edges like this, just kind of like a little envelope. So I have a gallon Ziploc bag already labeled the Wethersfield red onion and the day that I'm putting them in here for pre-sprouting. Now, I always reuse my Ziploc bags, so I don't feel bad putting these in here or just putting one variety in here, because I'm going to reuse this bag over and over again for other purposes, so I won't be wasting any plastic. So all I'm doing is I'm putting it into the Ziploc bag, and I am just going to seal that up. And then there you go. These are ready to go into a warm spot inside your house. My greenhouse is not warm enough for me to keep them in there quite yet, so I'm going to keep these in the house, and it can be a sunny spot or not, as long as it's warm. And you're going to want to check them maybe every other day to look to see if they've sprouted. And once they sprout, that's when you're going to go ahead and get them into the soil. And I will walk you through that next step as well. So here is the shallot. And there they are. Okay. Seal that up. The moisture will stay in. They'll get nice and warm inside the house. All right, so now that we have got our onion seeds in a gallon Ziploc baggie, wrapped up in some wet paper towels, I'm gonna set them inside the house and let them pre-sprout before we go ahead and get them into the potting mix or the seed starting mix. So next step, we'll be doing that. We'll have some fun playing in some dirt. So it is day 3 since we put those onion seeds into the Ziploc baggies to pre-sprout them, and they have sprouted. So we're gonna go ahead and we are going to get them into these seedling trays, get them in some soil, and start our onion seeds for the 2022 gardening season. These are the first seeds I'm starting for this year, and I'm excited because yesterday we got blasted with ice and some snow, and it basically is like super cold outside, super icy, really pretty because it's sunny out, but it is so cold. And it's a nice warm 55 degrees in the greenhouse right now, thanks to our little heater here. This is kind of a really special milestone for me because this is the first time I'm actually working in our greenhouse and starting seeds. Typically I would have been starting seeds at the kitchen table with a big old bin of soil and water and basically making a mess inside the house in our kitchen. I'm excited to be diving into this greenhouse and utilizing it after all the hard work and all of everything it took to get us here with this greenhouse. So I'm going to show you what these pre-sprouted onion seeds look like. So that is what you are looking for when you pre-sprout your onion seeds. They have a little white tail, not too insanely long because you don't want to break it off accidentally once you put it into the soil. And you can clearly see which onion seeds germinated for you, and you have really good viability with these ones. These ones are the Wethersfield red onion. So we're going to start with these first. So this morning when I saw that the onion seeds were ready, I came out and I grabbed my trays and my cells because I had to wash them. I hadn't washed them since probably the summer. So they had a lot of dirt, a lot of grime on them, and you want to make sure to give them a good cleaning before you use them. All I really do is get them in the bathtub and get some hot water, rinse them out, wipe them out really good, and dry them off. I don't do anything more than that. Some people I know have used soaps or bleach. I just stick with pure hot water and I call it good enough. So I have a couple trays. I have these two Pro Hex trays ready to go, and I got some other ones over in the corner as my backup. Already they're cleaned and good to go. The next thing I'm going to do is get my soil ready. Now I like to use Pro Mix. I buy these massive blocks of it. So I use this. Typically this is the most cost effective for me. The Pro Mix growing medium, it's the BX. Pro Mix has a lot of different types and varieties of bagged soil that you can buy, different growing mediums. This one with a coupon, I think I got it for $37. And this is compressed bale. It is 107 liters, 60 pounds, 3.8 cubic feet. So for $37, to me, this soil works really well for me. It does well with my seedlings. It's a very nice fine, light soil. Very nice for starting your seedlings in. Doesn't have a lot of bark stuff or really thick organic matter, chunky organic matter that might inhibit the growth of your seedlings. So that is why I chose Pro Mix. So let me go ahead and show you how we're going to prepare our soil to start our onion seeds. Well, basically all I do is I store these massive bales in a really big Rubbermaid container. And I have these other bins that I've picked up at Restaurant Depot for like $4. And I just take some of the soil that I have here and put it into the bin. And then I will add in some warm water to get it nice and wet before we put it into our cells for our onions. You want to have it basically like a sponge. So when you don't want it like sopping wet. You're not looking to make mud here. When you squeeze it, you shouldn't have water running down your hand. You want it to kind of hold its shape. So you'll know you have the right moisture content when you can pick up some of the dirt that you've added water to, and when you squeeze it, it'll hold its shape, but it won't have water dripping down your arm. That's when you know you're good to go. It was so cold in here last night. Parts of this dirt is still like it's frozen. Good thing I have it against the south-facing side of the greenhouse, so that lovely sun is helping to defrost my dirt. The other day I went to Ace Hardware actually to pick up these 2 bags of Pro Mix because I had another coupon. And when I went to pick it up, the 2 that they had set aside for me had frozen solid. And these things are super heavy. When they're frozen, they're even heavier. I had to go in and ask for help to get them in the back of my SUV. I could not get them in. They were so heavy. And I can normally manhandle my way around a big block of soil. Like, I can get that in. I can carry these things. I'm no stranger to that. So when I couldn't even drag the bag, I had to go ask for help. This sweet lady at Ace Hardware helped me get it into the back of my SUV. So I should be good for a while between all of this dirt. But I say that every year. I have all my dirt. Now we're gonna add some water to it to get it ready. All right, so I'm just gonna take my warm water, gonna add it into my bin. And then we'll give her a mix. And you can see she really absorbs a lot of that water. So it does sometimes take a good amount of water to really get it to the right moisture content you need. Now, normally I would actually get into this with my bare hands because I love working with dirt in dirt. I like to play in the dirt, but with touching a camera, that's probably not a good idea. So right now I'm going to use this shovel and mix her up, but feel free, my friends, to get your hands dirty. To me, it's a good feeling. It's dirt therapy. Feels like it's pretty evenly mixed. So let's do the test. Let's give it a squeeze. Now you see, look at that. I have water running down my hand, so I have a little too much water. So I'm going to add some more dirt and get the extra dirt to soak up some of that extra water. Oh well, looks like my phone's going to be getting dirty. Oh well, we'll clean her off. All right, let's give her another squeeze test. Good. I still have a little bit of water coming up, but it's not running down my hand much. She's holding her shape pretty well. So I'm gonna go ahead and say we are good to go. Homesteaders of America suggests to put bone meal or blood meal into your seed starting mix. So I am just gonna start with putting 1 cup of bone meal into enough soil to fill up 1 tray of my onion seeds. So I probably have enough soil here to fill up 2 trays. So I'm gonna start with 2 cups of bone meal and see where that takes me. Now you could use blood meal or bone meal. So whatever floats your boat, whatever you might have on hand, it's totally up to you. They say either or is fine. I have some old measuring cups that I used to use in the kitchen, and they became my gardening measuring cups because you always have things that you need to measure out. Fertilizer, organic, pesticides like BT and stuff. I have tablespoons and teaspoons. Different measuring utensils are really good to have, just designated to your garden area. So I'm just gonna go ahead and get 2 cups of bone meal, put into this whole bin and get that all mixed up. It's already smelling like spring, and I'm surrounded by ice and snow. If someone would have told me a year ago I'd have a greenhouse, I think I would have laughed. But then again, I don't think Joe was expecting me to grow thousands of plants last spring. So when he had the opportunity to build me a greenhouse, he hit the ground running so that he didn't have to endure that little shop of horrors ever again. When you got that all good, and mixed up, and your soil is all nice and light and airy and moist, and any big clumps are kind of just worked out with your hands. You're going to want to pack in your cells with your soil. So I have my soil here, and I'm just going to take my cells and I'll put that right there, and I am just going to pile in the soil. This is like so satisfying. I am so happy to have my hands in dirt again. There we go. So that is good to go. I'm gonna go ahead and pop that in and do the next one. There, and you just kind of run your hands along the top there, and then you're good to go. There she is. Oh, one trick I found out last year is if you do want to pack them down a bit, just take another one and give it a little pat, pat, pat. Give them a pat. And boom, there you are. You pat them down a little bit, right? Do the same thing, give them a little pat. You don't want to make it so compact that it's like cement, but you want to pack them just a little bit. And there you go. Beautiful. Homestead hack. Okay, the next step is you are going to dibble holes. What does it mean to dibble? You're going to put a little tiny hole into each cell. This is called a dibble. It's kind of like a cone-shaped, rounded little tool like that. You can use a pencil. That's good to go. You can use your finger. I got this for free when I bought seedling trays last year. So this is a dibble. You're going to dibble your holes. All you're going to do is put a little indent into each cell to hold an onion seed. Just like that. Oop, there's a stick. Goodbye, stick. That's all. All right, so all of my holes have been dibbled. They are set to go. I just have a pair of like really blunt tweezers, and I'm gonna grab a hold of a seed, and you can see there it is, little white root. That is going to go facing downwards into one of your cells. So I'm just gonna go ahead, pop them in there. Make sure that root's facing down. Boom. Nice and gentle. Don't want to break off the root. First step to success, don't break off a root. So he's in there. Let's go ahead and gently grab another seed. Grab it by this seed, and then go ahead and put that down into your little hole that you made. So I want to make sure that the white root is facing downward, and this seed is like, no, I don't want that. So I'm gonna go ahead and get him in there. See? There he is. And there's his brother. And we're gonna work on the rest. Joe and I actually have to work on the greenhouse today. We're trying to make cold frames inside the greenhouse, like little microclimates, so that we can keep seedlings out here and not have to heat the entire greenhouse, but keep them in a little cold frame inside here that's already going to be protected, and then put like a seedling germination mat inside that cold frame to keep it extra warm. You know, we have a lot of extra windows. Some we have actually donated to other people building greenhouses. And then some we kept because we knew we wanted to eventually make cold frames and whatnot. So we're gonna give that a try. It's kind of a thought I had, and I said, well, you know, let's at least try it and see what happens. We are gonna top off the seed with a little bit of vermiculite. Homesteaders of America, in that blog, they recommended just doing a light dusting of vermiculite because it helps to prevent diseases from forming. All right, so I have my vermiculite. Vermiculite is actually a soil additive that helps with water retention. It's very absorbent. So it's also really good to help regulate the moisture level of your soil. But for the purposes that I'm using it, I'm just sprinkling it on top of each cell to help prevent any diseases that might form on top of regular soil mix. So by lightly dusting it with the vermiculite, you're doing kind of a little bit of a preventive care there. So this is what vermiculite looks like. It's really light, and I am just gonna lightly dust over. We did a light dusting of vermiculite over all of the cells, covering up the seed, so they are good to go. Now, the next thing you're gonna wanna do is you're gonna want to give them a little bit more water. Now, instead of watering from the top, I'm gonna water from the bottom. So I'm gonna place some water in the bottom of the tray because our tray has no holes, only the cells do. And the holes in the cells are going to help the mix soak up and wick up the water from the bottom. Sometimes I do go back and forth between giving it a mist at the top level of soil and having them be watered from the bottom. It's really just dependent upon what my seedling is looking like. If it looks like it's like really dry on top, for some reason it wouldn't be wicking up the water from the bottom, I'm gonna water from the top at that point. But for right now with these seeds, I'm going to put some water in the bottom of that tray. Make sure it kind of goes all nice and even throughout the tray there so that these seeds can just wick up the water. I am gonna put a little bit extra because they are going to go on top of a germination mat. So they're gonna be nice and warm. I want them to get the proper level of moisture, and if they don't soak up a ton of the water over the next 2 hours, I'll just dump out the excess, and that's all. So next, I am gonna just put a dome cover on top, and then I'm gonna set it on top of a germination mat to keep them nice and warm until you start to see the sprouts coming through the vermiculite. So there she is. She's all covered up with the dome. I'm going to be keeping these trays in the house because right now the greenhouse is not consistently warm enough for me to keep these outside. So I'm gonna put them in the house. I'm gonna set up a spot for my germination mats and probably a nice sunny location, and I'm gonna wait for them to sprout through that vermiculite. Those onions that I just put into that tray are the Weathersfield red onions. So I'm going to make a marker so I know what variety that is. So I just put that on there using my little garden marker that I got off Amazon. This marker, I haven't used it before, but supposedly it works better than a permanent marker because it won't get bleached by the sun. It won't, rain won't take off the writing. So it will withstand all these weather conditions that other markers won't. So for the first time this year, I'm actually going to be trying out this garden marker. So I'll let you know how it works out. So once I get those trays into the house, I'm gonna put them on a germination mat. I'm gonna keep them nice and warm. I'm gonna have them in a sunny location, or I will have them under some grow lights. They need 14 to 18 hours of light every day, so that's very important. And when you start to see the sprouts emerging from beneath the vermiculite, go ahead and take that dome off because that means you don't need it anymore. The humidity level is good. You just need basically that nice humid, moist environment to get those seeds to sprout and come through that vermiculite. At that point, you can also take them off the germination mat, provided you have them in a warm location, you know, between, you know, above 60. So you're going to want to keep them well watered. You don't want them sopping wet. But once I get these onions done, which I have a feeling is going to be a while, I'll go ahead and I'll show you how I have them set up in the house. All right, everyone, here are the onion seeds. I have them set up in our basement next to a little here to keep them warm. They are on top of some seed germination heat mats to get them up and sprouted, and they have their domes on top keeping the humidity in to help them come up through the Promix and Vermiculite that they are in. So as you can see, there are a lot of onions that we started. Way more than I was planning. I'd rather have more than not enough. So any extras, I did just put them into some upcycled salad containers here. I didn't sew them individually into cells just because I ran out of cells and trays to be able to use. So any extras just got put into there, and we'll see what happens. Let me show you in here. If I lift this up gently, there, you can see they're all in there. They're nice and warm. The moisture level's perfect. They're not sopping wet, but they're not dried out either. So they are going to live there with the dome on until I start to see them sprout. Then once that sprout comes up through the vermiculite, I will take the dome off and also turn off the germination mats, just so that they don't get too hot at that point. The germination mats and the domes are just helping the seed to emerge and sprout. I am keeping these grow lights. You can see I have these grow lights here. They're technically not real grow lights. They are shop lights that I got off Amazon. I have them hanging and they're super close to the onions, just a couple inches away, until I'm able to get them out into the greenhouse. And until it's warm enough in the greenhouse, this is just where they're gonna have to live. And we're playing that all by ear because this is a huge learning process. So anyways, here's where they are right now, and I'll keep you updated on how they are looking. So here is to a wonderful onion harvest this year. I have a feeling it's going to be a good one. Bye, guys.